Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the Easttown Descendants live stream. Today, we are going to talk to the next generation of Easttown descendants who grew up in the 1960s. In the first live stream, we interviewed Easttown descendants who grew up in the 1940s and 1950s, where the focus was centered around life on Maple Street, the WPA, and the creation of the first park in Decatur that was open to African Americans. Today, the next generation will share their memories as they recall them. And so, Mr. Reggie is going to be first. He's going to come in his own way and tell us about Easttown as he remembers it.
We had so many fond memories of delivering papers. Some people probably don't know that my mother had us to deliver papers, and we had to deliver papers during the week. It was in the evenings, but on Saturday and Sunday, it was early in the morning. So we had to get up very early and deliver those papers. It was not an option. We had to do that. And my mother, in her wisdom, taught us a lot about the business, about being responsible, being reliable, being people of your word, and making sure that we follow through. Unfortunately, Head was not always honest. And so, he would take half the route, maybe 15 people, and I would take the other half. A lot of times we'd have to go in the rain. We'd have to go when it was cold. We'd have to go when it was extremely hot. We would go even if we were having a good time in the park, if we were in a heated ping pong match or pool match, we'd have to stop and go and deliver the papers. And it was so funny. That's just a fond memory of what we encountered in Easttown. Of course, we covered Elm Street, Ash Street, Maple, Popular, but all the way down to Spruce Street and beyond.
Life lessons did you learn?
Well, responsibility in terms of making sure that you delivered the paper. One of the problems we had was that the company, Decatur Daily, would wrap them in these really tough, tight strips. So some of the papers would actually be torn because, you had to cut that off. They would bundle them together and they bundled them tight. And so if you cut it the wrong way, you actually tore one of the papers. And so you had to figure out who you're gonna give this raggedy paper to, because nobody wanted raggedy paper to pay for it. And so it was always interesting because sometimes we just run out of papers, or we'd be like, we're just gonna skip Miss So-and-so today and not give it to her. However, at the first of the month, it was time to collect their money. And so Head would get the money and then pretend he didn't get it. And so Mom didn't even get into that. She just made sure that we paid for what it cost for the papers. And then we might make $10 or $12, which at that time was a lot of money. And so we were excited about that. But it taught us responsibility. It taught us dedication. It taught us being people of our word. And even now, if I don't feel like necessarily going to do my job, I know I have a responsibility. So I don't even think twice about it. I get up and go do my job. And I'm really grateful for those lessons that were learned.
Well, thank you, Mr. Reggie. Would someone like to ask Mr. Reggie a question?
Mr. Reginald, what would have happened if you had quit your paper route?
Okay. And Quita, are you recording this? Because I want to make sure this is recorded, because this is important. As child protective services and all that stuff. So not delivering papers was not an option. I mean, we had to make sure that we delivered our papers on time and we had them there. So this was not an option not to deliver.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Miss Vanessa, would you mind telling us a little bit about the fun that you had as a child growing up in Easttown? What things were really fun about being in Easttown?
Well, mostly going to the park. That was the central hub for everybody. And we learned how to play the games, and like church picnics, Easter egg hunts, everything kind of centered around the park. And everybody that came home for the summer, you know, everybody went to the park, and that's where all the activities. We didn't have a rec center or a swimming pool in Easttown, and we just did everything at the park, the adults and the children.
Thank you. Would anybody like to ask Vanessa a question? What about you, Miss Felicia? What memories do you have of when you came to Easttown?
Trying to find that unmute button. So, oh my gosh, I have such fond memories of growing up in Easttown. Well, I guess some of the first things was, it was very old-fashioned to us because our grandmother had an outhouse. There was no indoor plumbing for the toilet, the commode. So for us, it was yucky, but it was exciting all at the same time because it was something that we didn't have back up here in Cleveland. But it was always a time of fun and joy, and we could just kind of let loose and be kids. So I have a specific memory just about, we were rarely in the park at nighttime. But it was one night, I don't know why we were all in the park, and we were just laying in the grass, and we were just seeing all these shooting stars. And that was just something just so amazing for us, because in the city, the street lights and things are so bright, you don't really see it like that. So we just got to experience things that we really wouldn't experience being in Cleveland. So, and we just look forward to coming to Decatur every summer and spending that time where we could just let loose, have fun with our cousins and our friends, because we had our own little set of friends that lived in Decatur also.
Okay, thank you, Miss Felicia. We're almost done, but I see Dr. May, would you like to have a comment about anything we've talked about today?
Trying to figure out, does anybody remember what our curfew was when we knew when it was time to come home?
The street lights.
The street lights.
When the street lights was coming on, you better make it.
It just seemed like it was well before the street lights to me. I just remember my mother standing at the top of the hill, and I don't care what we were doing, if we were, you know, playing a game, playing softball, playing whatever we were doing. If we looked and she was at the top of the hill, she never called us, but if we saw her standing out there in that yard with her hand on her hip, we would start running up the hill. But I don't remember that it was the street light. I'm just wondering what the curfew was.
Well, I can't answer that, but what did you learn that you took into adult life from those experiences?
Just to make my own fun and to just try to have my own little, you know, now I enjoy my family, I enjoy my friends, and enjoy that time, because there was a time when we would just sit there like, if I ever get out of Decatur, Alabama, oh.
Well, in closing, I just wanted to open this up. We have like 1.5 minutes left, where I would just like someone to tell something comical, you know, just to spice. We've been serious, but can anybody tell, are there any funny people that you remember, anything like that that you could contribute to it?
Yeah, but I was thinking about one hop. I was thinking about Red Light. I was thinking about Red Rover, and Unique.
But I think also things that made Easttown unique was the closeness of the people, the where everybody just seemed to want to mesh together. And those things were a little bit unique. In our previous interview, we talked about how it was always an integrated neighborhood, but that didn't seem to matter in Easttown. People just got along. In our last minute, Mr. Ayers, would you have just whatever you want to say about Easttown?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
First, I want to say I love y'all and I miss y'all so much. But this is my first time being on Zoom, so I just happened to catch this, and I'm so proud and happy to be here with y'all this evening. I'm just so happy, and I want to tell y'all that I love y'all.
Well, we love you, and I am so glad to see so many people who call themselves the proud people who are descendants of Easttown. Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. Please go out on Facebook. I'm going to have a link there, and I'm going to say something about the live stream. Please make a comment about whatever you're feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You look,
Bye-bye.
you look beautiful, Quita.
Thank
Yes,
you.
it does.
Yes, you do, girl. Yes, you do.
Bye. I'm
All right,
blushing.
good to see you, Andy.
Hey,
Y'all
we
be
got
blessed.
and we got all that Easttown genes in us, y'all.